The Instagram algorithm is constantly changing its mind about what it wants to see. Hooks, bodies, different CTAs, different B-roll. But one thing's for certain that has never changed is a good thumbnail for your short form content. It never fails to impress the naked eye. You can instantly tell who puts their effort into their content and who has a well-established page as soon as you go onto their page. Like for mine, if you scroll through, you can see consistent design, colors that align with the brand. And if you go onto some other creators that do not utilize this, you will see that it just completely lacks that. Now, thumbnails don't directly act as a way to go viral, just like it does with YouTube with its click-through rate, but I do certainly believe that it does play a part to making your brand look more established. So I'm going to show you a quick video on how you can make these thumbnails like I do. So if we come over here to Canva, we can see obviously we're on our home screen. If you do not have an account, of course, well then you need to create an account. So once you've got your account, you'll see a little create button up here on the top left. So click this. Now this is where a lot of people go wrong. They normally use some sort of already templated ones, maybe a presentation, Instagram post, whatever. Obviously, of course, if you want to create good channel art, you're going to need to use something more alongside the Instagram story as opposed to the Instagram post, because then otherwise you're going to have those black lines at the bottom and the black lines at the top. So if you want to fit the full thing, you're going to need to go for something more like an Instagram story or like an Instagram reel, but obviously they're the same things at the end of the day. So if you do come across to this screen where it looks like it's almost playing a video and you want to drag and drop media, you want to come down here to the bottom right where it says hide page thumbnails, and you literally just click this. And now of course you're coming on to the actual design part. Now, the first thing I always like to do is I like to drag in my media. So let's just say we're using a thumbnail of me looking, quite jacked. We want to dead center it, so we want to see exactly how big we want to make it. Let's just say something like this. Now, of course, the first thing that we need to do is we need to make the hero object stand out a tiny bit more. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to press this, which is background remover. So we click this. Now, of course, as you can see, Canva is really, really good at cutting the background option out. Now, the first thing that I always like to do is you can zoom it out a tiny bit, by the way, down here in the bottom right. You want to make sure that you crop it down to the actual width and the height of the subject, because this is going to make your life a whole lot easier in future. Then you double click it, or if you're on a mouse, right click it and press copy. Okay, now let's go back a couple of steps by pressing the back button up here and go back to square one. All right, now you're probably thinking, well, why on earth did I just do this? Now, obviously, if you're using shortcuts, you're going to press Command V and you're going to paste the subject in. Or if I go back, alternatively, you can just right click and then press paste, and of course it will come in as well. We can zoom back in now that we've got our subject back in, and we want to match it up just like this. So you can't even tell that we have added another subject on. Now, the reason for this is now we have separated the background and the hero subject. So first thing I always like to do is I like to grab the hero subject, press edit, press adjust, and I like to put the contrasts up. I like to make the brightness slightly come up. I like to put the shadows down, especially with fitness thumbnails. You obviously want to make your physique look good. So the main tools for this are normally saturation, shadows, contrast, not making it too bright. And then the final one is clarity. Clarity is the most important. You can see the difference in definition, but you don't want to use too much to a point where you look like, I don't know, like Michael Jackson. You want to put it like this. Now, the reason why I said that this would be a whole lot easier if you just cropped it is because now you can click the hero like this, or if you click anywhere outside the hero, you can click the background like this. Now, I would do the same thing with the background. I would make sure that we edit it down to this point, just so it makes it easier in future, and then zoom back in. Now, what you want to do is you want to press edit on the background, go to adjust. Now, the main goal here is to make the hero subject stand out as much as possible. So the first thing I like to do is bring the shadows down, maybe contrast up, brightness slightly down, and then clarity, you can actually bring it down so it makes it a bit more of a blur effect as opposed to the clarity high. So that's the way I like to do it. Now, of course, you can instantly see that the hero part of the subject really, really stands out. Now, one thing that you have to remember when making Instagram thumbnails is you're not going to be able to see the full thumbnail in it. You do need to create in the expectation that it will show the full thing, because when you're on the Reels tab, it will show the full thumbnail, but when you're just scrolling in the main feed, it will only show like a square. So I think the best way to do this is I'll use like a line for representation. So we can say realistically anything here, I'll mark it white, no, I'll mark it red so it's easier for you guys to see. So realistically anything in the red zones here, when you crop it down to show what the actual main feed will show, you'll see that you can't really get a whole lot into it. So you have to make sure that there's no text within these zones. Of course, what you can do is you can edit it and you can make it the red zones be a bit more higher on the actual Instagram app, and then you'll have no red zones at the top and it will look more like this, and then you have enough room at the top for text. That's normally what I like to do. So I like to future plan, and I like to say, okay, well, I know Instagram is going to cut half of my photo away, so I'm already going to get rid of this and I'm going to put nothing in there because I know that it's not going to utilize really anything. So let's say we come over to text here. What we want is we want some form of bold text. Now on the recently used section, I'm not sure that this probably won't be here for you, but I'm pretty sure if you type in huge sale, maybe, yeah, it will come up. So huge sale. This is normally the one that I like to use. All right. Now, first of all, it's only going to be able to fit forwards in there. So you're going to need to be able to crop it down and then expand it just like this. All right. Now the text is going to go here. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can make this text look a bit more, I suppose, fancier, a bit more graphic in a way, right? So let's just say, we're going to call it biceps. Oh no, let's do chest because it's a bit more of like a chest style photo. That's another thing as well. You want to use thumbnails that actually like make it look like you're talking about that specific video. So I would never have a video of me or a picture of me doing a most muscular pose and talk about back because yeah, you get the gist, right? So we've got this in here. Now what you want to do is you want to use this function up here and you want to just keep making the font bigger and bigger. Now, of course, since Instagram doesn't cut off the width of it, we want to make this as wide as possible without it being as high as possible, okay? So this is normally a good, I suppose, range. Now, of course, you can see the text does not really pop out. Let's be real, all right? So what you want to do is you want to instantly change the color. Now, this will always be down to the brand, okay? So let's just say your brand color is, let's just say blue. Now, you can see it still doesn't stand out. So you want to come over here to this effects button, and normally the glow is what makes it stand out that bit much more because it makes it fade in the background. Now, it's down to what you believe you like. You know, there's also outlines here which help it make it stand out a bit more. So you can use like a white back, a black back, and then you can make it a bit more bigger. So you can see here, this helps it stand out a whole lot more from the background. You also can use neon, and this bar will help it be a bit more transparent or not. You can use glitch. Again, there's multiple different ways that you can use. They've honestly hundreds that you can use. You can even install things, and if you press open here, it will actually allow you to use different features like drop text. You've got motion text, you've got type lettering. There's literally hundreds that you can use. Me personally, I always like to use the glow because I'll show you something else we also use to make the background look a bit, blurred. Now, if your brand color is blue, you have to be aware with what type of blue you choose. Okay, if you use a dark blue, doesn't stand out. If you use like a too light blue, then almost times it just looks white when we add the background features. So you want to find that balance here where you can kind of make it stand out, which for me, since my brand color is red, I always like to utilize either a really bright red or, if worst case scenario, a bit more of like a lighter red like this. But I would never use too light or I'd never use too dark just because it wouldn't fit well. All right, so let's just say we use this blue here. Now you want to put it over your face, and you're probably thinking, why on earth would you do that? Because you're blocking out your own face. I'll show you why. So click on the text, go up here to position, go to layers, and you can actually drag this blue underneath that first subject so your head comes over the text, which instantly makes it look extremely nice. Then come over to elements, and you want to type into the elements function black fade. There you can see one that comes from the top, which is a black fade, but honestly I like the one that is, let me see all, I like the one that has a quicker like dark to light ratio so it doesn't take too much of the screen. So this is a perfect example of this because the darkness fade pretty much disappears instantly, right? You want to drag it up to a point where until it starts affecting like the forehead of your hero subject. So here is perfect. Then I like to crop it. Then we go to position. We like to drag this underneath the text and the hero subject just like that. So now you can see instantly the text stands out so much more. Where if I was to duplicate this subject, okay, and I was to get rid of this fade, let me show you, and we were also to get rid of the text effects, and we were to take it off, you can see a major difference to how the text actually stands out. Now, obviously, of course, you can even compare examples of you when you didn't have the brightness up and you had the contrast down and the shadows, and you could just see the direct difference of how much just additional fade features and additional darkness will help a light subject. So in this scenario, the light subject would be the text and it would be the hero subject, which is you, or whatever the video is about. If it's about dumbbells or if it's about a certain machine, you could make the thumbnail that machine and you could make that the hero subject. You just basically want to make it easier for the viewer to be able to look at and be able to tell just with one word and one subject what the video is about instantly. Okay, so at this point now, we're then moving on to the next little parts of the features, which are normally some form of glow subjects, right? Which of course it depends on the type of video. So let's just say for an example, we use glow. All right, if we type in glow into the element section, there will be a couple of features that pop up. So you come over here to the graphics section and there's actually a light blue feature here. I like to use one that's a bit more faded, just like this one. So perfect example of this is the gold one, something that's a bit more faded, as I said. So if you come up here, you will see the document colors. You will make it match the same blue color. You will put it up a tiny bit and you will put it like here. Okay, now you're probably thinking, Troy, that ruins the physique. No, you go to position and then you drag that down to here, right? So now instantly again, it's creating more brand awareness because you're creating brand dominant colors. Now we can start to get rid of these red lines. Now that we know exactly where the cutoff point will be, that we won't be utilizing this, we just ensure that we're putting no more there. Then what the next thing you can do is you can actually duplicate this fade. Okay, you can spin it around, make it 180 degrees, put it down to the bottom, put it to positions, and actually make sure it's on top. So it wouldn't really work, right? Since we know that we're not going to utilize this end part of the document, the worst thing you could do is put it down towards the other ones because you can't really, it doesn't really look any different, right? So you want to put it to the top, actually over all of your main hero subjects, so it looks like this. Okay, now let's compare the two. From a zoomed out standpoint, we can instantly see which is a whole lot more clickable. Right? I mean, I know which one I'm clicking, and I haven't even added all the features yet that I want. So this is just a prime example of how just a couple of dark features and a couple of different layers can make such a difference. Okay, now there's a couple of different things that you can utilize when you see this final product. You can see, you might think, okay, well, I might change the color, I might change the photo, or I might even change the text features. Like you might come up here to the effects and you might prefer a bit more of an outline or an echo or a glitch you might even prefer. So you can see here that you can utilize the offset and you can change the colors. You might even choose a hollow, neon lights you might even choose. Like it could be anything, right? If you ever get into yourself into a bit of shit, you just click the back buttons, by the way, in case you don't know how to get back to where you were. All right, now of course I know where I was using a glow feature and I was using it to the max capacity. All right, so now you're pretty much done. Now there's a couple of different things that I would personally add, and it will add another, I suppose, website that we will need to use, or app if you will. But to be fair, this is pretty much ready to post. Okay, there's not really a whole lot that you can add more to this. But what you want to do here is you want to click share, you want to click download, you want to click JPG because this is best for sharing to maintain large quality. Select pages, you want to click current page, and then you just want to press download, and you'll see, obviously, of course, it will be transferred. Now, that being said, let's move over to our next subject, which is going to be Lightroom. And this is where, honestly, the magic happens, in my opinion. So what you want to do is you want to come over here to your main page, which will be probably something like this. If you can't see it, you'll just click this top left. You want to press add photos. You want to come over, obviously mine is on my desktop. You want to search for it, or if you already know where it is, you just want to press review for import, press add photo, and now we are ready to rock. Obviously, of course, you can make it a bit bigger by dragging this down if you want, just like that. So now what I want to do is I actually want to use like a little glow feature. I want to be able to color my subject in because honestly, I feel like that makes a real big difference. Okay, so you want to come over here to the far right, which it looks like a grain circle. That's the masking feature. You want to then click brush. Then of course you want to zoom in, maybe go to like 200%, or honestly the closer the better, maybe even a 300%. Click mask, click brush. Now you can obviously of course adjust what brush you're going to be using. Make sure it's on the brush feature and it's not on the eraser. So when you're on the brush feature, of course you can make the size bigger. You can also use, if you have a mouse, you can use this to like make it bigger and smaller. I like to, honestly, instead of going big and coloring it in like this, right, this is it doesn't really look nice in my opinion, so you want to obviously get your eraser and get rid of that. I like to go small and I like to go detailed, so I like to make it nice and small. I basically just want to make sure that it doesn't fade into any of the other muscle groups. So since this video is about chest, I'm just going to start outlining the chest. So now that you've got it all colored out, you want to scroll down to the very bottom, which you can see here you have an option to of course change around the colors. Now to be honest with you, right, let's go back to the start. You can see colors wise I probably wouldn't use light blue just because I feel like there's probably too much light blue. So whenever I'm highlighting a certain subject, I like to make it stand out. So I always like to use like the opposing color towards what the rest is. So like for an example, if we're using blue, you would like to color it maybe like red or something like this. So maybe we used red or pink or something along the lines of that. Then you of course can customize the saturation. You want to put normally the saturation up to a high. Temperature you can change, because of course when you play around with these you might make it stand out more. So when you put temperature up high, when you put tint up high, saturation up high, you will see of course that it makes the subject stand out a tiny bit more. You can also utilize things like contrast, exposure, right? And then also of course you've got all of your other ones like your shadows, etc. So that's normally what I do in order to make a subject stand out a bit more, right? Because ultimately, if you don't have like things like clarity high, for example, texture high, so now that you've got all of your things that you need added in here, it's pretty much ready to go. All right, that's exactly how you would create a thumbnail and the key features of what it will consist of. Now, when you're done that, you literally just click the export button up here. You want to pick JPG large and you just export it to your desktop. Very, very easy, just like that. So you can just see a bit of a difference as to how the additional color on the subject of the thing that you're talking about really does matter. Now, you might think, I actually like the one on the right better. And that's, if that's you, that's completely fine. But I'm just explaining how, from a naked eye, it works to gauge, I suppose, attention. And I've seen great success with that. So with that being said, you've just found out how to do your short form thumbnails for your Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, etc. If you have any more questions, please do let me know. But I definitely recommend hitting this page subscribe. And if you want to be one-to-one mentored by me so I can help scale your business, then you can just book a free consult call with me below. Or if you just want to keep consuming free content, then hit the page of subscribe up here or watch another video up here. I'll see you all in the next one.